The air in the South Side alley tasted like rain and gasoline. Zaria Monroe pressed her back against the cold brick wall, her breath coming in short bursts that fogged in the October chill. The man blocking her exit wasn't backing down, and neither was the crowd gathering at the alley's mouth. She'd worked at Nell's diner for 3 years. 3 years of double shifts, burnt coffee, and pretending she didn't see the men in expensive suits who came in after midnight. 3 years of keeping her head down in a neighborhood where asking questions got you buried. But tonight, Devon had found her. Tonight, the rules changed. "You think you can just walk away from me?" Devon's voice cut through the November wind. "You think I won't find you every goddamn time?" Then someone else spoke, a voice smooth as whiskey and twice as dangerous. "She's not going anywhere with you." Zaria's eyes snapped to the figure stepping from the shadows, white dress shirt pristine despite the grime around them, 4 buttons undone, revealing tanned skin and the edge of something dark curling up his neck. The dragon tattoo that everyone in Southside knew meant power. Cale Huang had just entered the game. Why does Cale intervene? What's his connection to Zaria? 12 hours earlier, the diner had been quieter than usual. Zaria wiped down the counter for the 3rd time, her dark brown hands moving in practiced circles over the formica surface. The late afternoon sun slanted through the grimy windows, catching the edges of her box braids where they fell across her shoulder. She'd tied them up in a high ponytail this morning, but strands had escaped during the lunch rush. "Table 6 needs more coffee," Nell called from the kitchen window, her voice rough from 40 years of Marlboro Lights. Zaria grabbed the pot without responding. "Table 6, always table 6. The booth in the back corner had been occupied since 2 p.m., 3 men in suits that cost more than Zaria made in 6 months, speaking in low voices that didn't carry past their table. The one facing the door never looked at his phone. The one with his back to the wall never stopped watching the street. The one in the middle, the one with the dragon tattoo climbing up his neck, never looked at her directly. But she felt his attention like heat on her skin every time she approached. Cale Huang. She'd learned his name from whispers, from the way people's voices dropped when they mentioned the Huang family's import business, from the way cops didn't patrol this block anymore. "More coffee?" she asked, keeping her eyes on the pot as she poured. "Thank you." His voice was educated, American, with just a ghost of something else underneath. 2nd generation, she'd heard. Born in Seoul, raised in Chicago from age 5. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "You work the closing shift tonight?" Zaria's hand tightened on the coffee pot. "Yes." "Alone?" The question hung in the air. The other 2 men at the table had gone still, their conversation dying mid-sentence. "Nell's here until 9, Zaria said carefully. "Then I lock up at 10. Cale nodded once, a small movement of his head. His dark eyes finally met hers, and Zaria felt something shift in her chest. Not fear, something else. Something that made her want to look away and keep staring at the same time. "Be careful tonight," he said. "There's talk about someone looking for you." Ice flooded her veins. "What?" But he'd already returned to his conversation, dismissing her as efficiently as he'd warned her. Zaria walked back to the counter on legs that felt disconnected from her body. Devon. It had to be Devon. 3 months since she'd left him. 3 months of looking over her shoulder, Eve sleeping with a chair wedged under her apartment door. 3 months of thinking maybe, just maybe, he'd finally let her go. She should have known better. The rest of the shift passed in a blur. Nell left at 9 with a tired wave, her arthritic knees slowing her shuffle to the bus stop. Zaria locked the door behind her, then spent the next hour cleaning tables and running through scenarios in her head. Go home. Devon knew where she lived. He'd proven that with the dead flowers left on her doorstep, the slashed tire on her rusted Toyota, the texts that came at 3 a.m. Stay at the diner. Trap herself in a building with more windows than walls. Call the police? She almost laughed. The police in Southside had 2 modes. Don't care or actively hostile. A black woman with an abusive ex? She'd get a lecture about choosing better men and a pamphlet about a shelter that had been closed for 2 years. At 9:45 she made her decision. She'd walk the long way home, stick to the main streets where the streetlights still worked, where late-night bodegas stayed open and security cameras watched from every corner. She was pulling on her jacket when she saw him. Devon stood across the street, his silhouette unmistakable under the broken streetlight. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of presence that had attracted her 5 years ago and terrified her for the last 2. Zaria's hand fumbled for her phone. Dead battery. Of course. She looked up and down the street. Empty. The bus wouldn't come for another 20 minutes. Walking meant passing him. Staying meant waiting for him to cross the street. Then she saw the alley. Stupid. So stupid. Everyone knew you didn't take the alleys in South Side after dark. But Devon was moving now, crossing the street with purpose, and panic made her feet move before her brain could stop them. The alley was darker than she expected, the buildings on either side blocking what little light the moon provided. Her sneakers splashed through puddles she couldn't see, and the smell of garbage and something chemical made her gag. She was halfway through when she heard his voice. "Zaria, baby, wait!" She ran. The alley ended in a chain-link fence, 8 feet tall and topped with barbed wire. Zaria grabbed it anyway, her fingers finding holds in the cold metal, pulling herself up with strength born of pure terror. "Where you gonna go?" Devon's laugh echoed off the brick walls. "You gonna climb that fence? Rip yourself open on that wire, for what? To get away from me?" His hand closed around her ankle. Zaria kicked backward, felt her heel connect with something solid. Devon swore, his grip loosening just enough for her to yank free. She dropped from the fence, stumbling backward until the brick wall hit her spine. Trapped. Devon advanced slowly now, favoring his left side where she'd kicked him. In the dim light from the street behind him, she could see his face, the face she'd once loved, the face that had whispered sweet things in the dark, before it had started whispering threats instead. 3 months, he said conversationally. 3 months you've been playing this game, acting like you're too good for me now, like you don't remember who took care of you when you had nothing. You call that taking care of me? Zaria's voice shook, but the words came out clear. You isolated me from my family. You took my money. You put your hands on me. I disciplined you when you needed it. Devon took another step closer. But I'm done being patient. You're coming home tonight, and we're going to have a real conversation about respect. Zaria looked past him. The alley mouth was blocked by 3 figures now. Devon's friends. The ones who'd always thought hitting women was funny. Who'd held her down while Devon searched through her phone. Who'd told her she was lucky any man wanted her damaged ass. 7 years working at that diner. 7 years of saving every dollar she could hide from Devon. 7 years of dreaming about the day she'd have enough to start over somewhere new, somewhere safe. And it was going to end here in a South Side alley, with a man who'd never learned that love wasn't supposed to hurt. Devon, please, shut up. His hand shot out, fingers tangling in her braids. You're gonna walk out of here nice and quiet. You're gonna smile at my boys, and then you're gonna... She's not going anywhere with you. The voice came from behind Devon, and Zaria watched his expression shift from confidence to confusion to fear in the space of a heartbeat. Kyle Huang stepped into the alley with the kind of casual grace that came from never having to prove himself. 2 men flanked him, the same 2 from the diner earlier. Their suits were still immaculate, their expressions carefully neutral. But everyone in that alley knew what those neutral faces meant. Violence when necessary, which was always. Who the fuck are you? Devon hadn't let go of Zaria's hair, but his grip had loosened. This ain't your business, man. This is between me and my girl. Your girl. Kyle's voice was soft, almost gentle. He stopped about 10 feet away, hands in his pockets, the picture of relaxation. The dragon on his neck seemed to writhe in the shadows. Interesting, because I was under the impression she stopped being yours 3 months ago. Devon's jaw tightened. How would you know that? I know a lot of things. Kyle's dark eyes flicked to Zaria, then back to Devon. I know you've been harassing her, following her, threatening her. I know the police have 3 reports filed with your name on them, all mysteriously lost in the system. I know you work for Vincent Calabresi's crew over in Bridgeport, which means you should damn well know whose territory you're standing in right now. The color drained from Devon's face. Zaria felt his hand release her hair. She stayed frozen against the wall, her mind struggling to process what was happening. Kyle Huang knew about Devon, the police reports she'd filed. How? Mr. Park. Devon's voice had lost its aggressive edge. I didn't know she was... She's what? Kyle took a step forward, just one. The two men behind him mirrored the movement. She's under my protection. Is that what you're trying to figure out right now? Silence, heavy and suffocating. Let me make this simple, Kyle continued. You have two choices. You can walk away right now, go back to Bridgeport, and never speak to Zaria again. Never call her, never text her, never even think about her. Or, he let the word hang. Or? Devon's voice cracked. Or I can have a conversation with Vincent Calabrese about how one of his boys is causing problems in my territory, harassing a woman who works in my neighborhood, making me look weak because I can't even protect the waitress who pours my coffee. Cale's smile was cold. How do you think that conversation would go for you? Devon took a step back, then another. That's what I thought. Kyle's attention shifted to the three men at the alley entrance. You boys want to stay and make this interesting? Or you want to take your friend home? They scattered like roaches when the light flips on. Devon followed them, practically running, and then Zaria was alone in the alley with three men who were infinitely more dangerous than her ex-boyfriend had ever been. Kyle turned to her slowly. Are you hurt? Zaria shook her head, not trusting her voice. Can you walk? Yes. She pushed away from the wall, her legs shaking. Thank you. I don't know how to... Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Kyle gestured toward the alley mouth. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. They emerged onto the street where a black Mercedes waited at the curb, engine running. One of Cale's men opened the back door. Cale looked at Zaria expectantly. I can walk home, she said quickly. It's not far. Get in the car, Zaria. Hearing her name in his mouth sent a shiver down her spine. She got in the car. Cale slid in beside her, maintaining a careful distance. The door closed with a heavy thunk, sealing them in leather-scented silence. The driver pulled away from the curb without being told where to go. How do you know my name? Zaria asked. How do you know about Devon? About the police reports? I own this neighborhood, Kyle said simply. When something happens to someone who lives here, someone who works here, I know about it. You know about every waitress's abusive acts? No. His eyes met hers, and Zaria saw something in them she couldn't quite name. Just yours. The car turned onto a quieter street, tree-lined and cleaner than the blocks around the diner. Zaria recognized it. This was where the Huang family's legitimate businesses operated. The restaurants that served actual food. The import company that actually imported things. The construction firm that actually built buildings. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Cale looked out the window. Devon won't come back tonight, but he's not smart enough to stay gone. Men like him never are. They convince themselves that one more try will work, that they can wear you down, that you'll remember why you loved them. I didn't love him. The words burst out before Zaria could stop them. I thought I did, but that wasn't love, that was... I don't know what that was. Survival, Kyle said quietly. When you don't have other options, you convince yourself that what you have is good enough. The car pulled up in front of a brownstone that looked like it belonged in a different city. Flower boxes in the windows, iron railings freshly painted, steps swept clean. A light glowed warm in the front window. This is my building, Kyle said. There's an apartment on the second floor. It's empty right now. You can stay there tonight. I can't. You can. He opened his door, then paused. Zaria, I'm not asking you to owe me anything. I'm not asking you for anything. But that apartment is safer than wherever you're living now, and Devon doesn't know about it. So please, just for tonight. Zaria looked at the brownstone, then back at Kyle. In the car's dome light, she could see the dragon tattoo clearly now. Its scales were intricate, detailed, beautiful in a fierce way. Its head reached toward his jawline, mouth open, breathing fire or screaming or singing, she couldn't tell. Why are you helping me? Kyle was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. Because 6 weeks ago I watched you give your dinner to a homeless kid outside the diner. You told Nell you weren't hungry, but I saw you pocket an apple for later. Because 4 weeks ago you stayed 2 hours past closing to help that old woman find her grandson's phone number. Because 2 weeks ago you told off a customer who called you a racial slur, even though I could see you were scared he'd come back. He turned to look at her fully. Because you're kind in a world that punishes kindness, and because I'm tired of watching kind people get hurt. Zaria felt tears prick her eyes. You've been watching me. Yes. That's creepy. Yes, he agreed. But I'm a criminal, Zarya. Creepy is the least of my sins. Despite everything, the fear, the confusion, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins, Zarya laughed. It was a short, startled sound, but it was genuine. Kyle smiled. A real smile, not the cold weapon he'd used on Devon. It transformed his face, made him look younger, made the dragon on his neck seem like art instead of a warning. "Come on," he said, climbing out of the car. "Let me show you somewhere you can sleep without a chair under the door." Zarya followed him into the brownstone, and with each step, she felt the weight of 3 months of fear start to lift from her shoulders. The apartment was beautiful. Not expensive beautiful. Not the kind of showplace Zarya had seen in magazines, but thoughtful beautiful. Warm beautiful. Safe beautiful. The living room had cream-colored walls and hardwood floors that gleamed in the lamplight. A couch that looked actually comfortable, not decorative. A coffee table with books already stacked on it. Novels with worn spines, the kind people actually read. Curtains that blocked the outside world completely. But it was the kitchen that made Zarya stop in her tracks. The refrigerator was stocked. Not with bachelor food, not with takeout containers. With real food. Eggs and milk and fresh vegetables. Bread from the Italian bakery 3 blocks over. The coffee was the good kind. The brand she always bought for herself when she had extra money. Which she hadn't had in months. How? She turned to find Kyle watching her from the doorway. This was supposed to be empty. It was. He didn't look embarrassed. Didn't look like a man who'd just been caught in a lie. Until yesterday. Zarya walked slowly to the refrigerator, opened it again. The milk was her preferred brand. The coffee creamer was the exact flavor she bought. The yogurt was the Greek kind she liked, not the regular kind that was cheaper. "You've been planning this." Her voice came out flat. "How long?" 2 weeks. 2 weeks. She closed the refrigerator carefully. "You've been planning to what? Kidnap me? Set me up in some safe house like a mistress or something?" "No." Kyle stepped into the kitchen, but he kept distance between them. "I've been planning to offer you a safe place if you ever needed one. The food, the apartment being ready. That's because I hoped you'd need it soon. Before Devon did something worse than slash your tires. You knew about the tires. I know about everything he's done." Kyle's jaw tightened. "The flowers, the texts, the time he cornered you at the bus stop 2 weeks ago and you had to beg the driver to let you on early. I know about all of it. And I should have stepped in sooner." Zarya leaned against the counter, her mind spinning. "Why didn't you?" "Because you weren't mine to protect." The words came out rough. "You were just the waitress at Nell's diner, just someone who lived in my territory. And I have rules, Zarya. I don't interfere in people's personal lives unless they ask for help, or unless someone crosses a line that can't be uncrossed." "What line did Devon cross tonight?" "He followed you into that alley." Cale's eyes went dark. "He put his hands on you in a way that said he wasn't planning to let you leave. That's not a domestic dispute anymore. That's not personal history. That's a man about to commit violence in my territory, against someone who works in my neighborhood. That's the line." The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, the air between them charged with something Zarya didn't want to name. "So what happens now?" she asked. "I stay here tonight, and then what? Tomorrow Devon comes back, next week, next month. Do I just hide forever?" "No." Kyle moved closer, slow enough that she could stop him if she wanted. She didn't. "Tomorrow we have a conversation with Vincent Calabrese. I make it clear that you're under my protection. Devon leaves town, or he finds out what happens to men who don't listen to warnings." "And what do you get out of this?" The question came out sharper than Zarya intended. "Men like you don't do things for free. So what's the price? What do I owe you?" Kyle stopped moving. For a long moment he just looked at her. Then he reached up and unbuttoned another button on his white shirt, the 5th one, exposing more of the dragon tattoo. Its body coiled across his collarbone, scales rendered in exquisite detail. "You see this?" he asked quietly. "This dragon?" Zarya nodded. "In Korean mythology, dragons are protectors. They guard treasure, yes, but they also guard people, places, things that matter." His hand dropped. I got this tattoo when I was 22, right after my father died, and I inherited this whole fucking mess. This territory, this business, these responsibilities. And I made myself a promise. He took one more step, close enough now that Zarya could smell his cologne, something expensive but subtle, cedar and citrus. I promised I would use the power I had to protect people who couldn't protect themselves, not for money, not for loyalty, not to build an empire or to make people fear me more, just because it was the right thing to do. His eyes held hers. So to answer your question, what do you owe me? Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. You owe me nothing. Zarya's throat tightened. People don't do things for nothing. Then I guess I'm not people. Kyle's smile was sad. I'm a criminal, remember? We're allowed to be complicated. Before Zarya could respond, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted to something harder. I have to go, he said. There's a situation I need to handle. The apartment is yours for as long as you need it. The door locks from the inside. No one has a key except you. He pulled a key from his pocket and set it on the counter. Not even me. Kyle. He turned back at the door. Thank you, Zarya said. Really, thank you. He nodded once. Then he was gone, the apartment door closing with a soft click. Zarya stood in the kitchen for a long time, staring at the key on the counter. Then she walked through the rest of the apartment. The bedroom had a queen-sized bed with clean sheets that smelled like lavender. The bathroom had towels and toiletries, nice ones, the kind she looked at in stores but never bought. The closet held a few changes of clothes in her exact size. He'd been planning this for 2 weeks, watching her for 6 weeks, knowing about Devon even longer. She should be terrified. She should grab that key and run, find somewhere else to hide, somewhere that didn't come with a Mafia boss's protection and unspoken implications. Instead, she locked the door, kicked off her shoes, and fell onto the couch. For the first time in 3 months, she felt safe enough to sleep. Banti. Kyle's protection comes with complications. Zarya woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. She bolted upright, heart hammering before memory caught up with panic. The apartment, Kyle, the alley, Devon. The coffee smell was real, though. She found Kyle in the kitchen, 2 paper cups from the Italian cafe down the street sitting on the counter. He'd changed clothes, dark jeans now instead of suit pants, a black t-shirt that showed off the dragon tattoo in full glory. It covered his entire left shoulder and upper arm, the detail even more intricate than she'd realized. Morning, he said without turning around. I didn't know how you take your coffee, so I got both with cream and sugar on the side. Zarya ran a hand over her braids, aware that she was still wearing yesterday's clothes, that she probably looked as rough as she felt. What time is it? 9:30. He turned to face her. You slept almost 12 hours. I never sleep that long. You never felt safe enough to... He pushed one of the coffee cups toward her. Cream and sugar? Just cream. She fixed her coffee, bought herself time to think. Shouldn't you be, I don't know, running your criminal empire or something? I delegated. Kyle leaned against the counter, cradling his own cup. We need to talk about what happens next. There it was. The catch. The price she'd been waiting for. Okay, Zarya said carefully. Talk. I spoke to Vincent Calabresi this morning, explained the situation with Devon. Vincent was very apologetic. Apparently Devon has been a problem child for a while now, and Vincent's been looking for an excuse to cut him loose, so that's done. Devon is out of the crew, out of Chicago by tomorrow, with a clear understanding that if he ever comes back, he won't be coming back in one piece. Zarya felt relief flood through her, so strong it made her dizzy. He's really gone. He's really gone. Kyle's expression softened. But there's a complication. Of course there was. When I told Vincent that you were under my protection, he asked me a question. Kyle set down his coffee cup. He asked if you were my woman, my girlfriend. And I hesitated. Just for a second. But it was long enough. Zarya's hand tightened on her cup. Long enough for what? Long enough for Vincent to assume the answer was yes. Kyle met her eyes. And that assumption, that rumor, is already spreading through Southside. By tonight, everyone will think we're together. By tomorrow, that's going to create expectations, complications. What kind of complications? The kind where other crews see you as a weakness they can exploit. The kind where people assume you know things about my business that you don't know. The kind where your life becomes infinitely more dangerous because you're associated with me. He ran a hand through his hair, and for the first time Zarya saw frustration crack through his controlled exterior. I'm sorry, I should have been more careful with my words. I should have— You saved my life, Zarya interrupted. Devon wasn't going to let me walk out of that alley, Kyle. We both know that. So if the price of being alive is some people thinking I'm dating you, I'll take it. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. Then explain it to me. Kyle was quiet for a moment. Then he started talking, and Zarya listened as he laid out a world she'd only glimpsed from the edges. Being associated with him meant she couldn't go back to her old apartment. It was compromised, known, vulnerable. It meant she couldn't work at Nell's anymore, not safely. It meant learning to recognize who was dangerous and who was just dangerous looking. It meant accepting protection she couldn't refuse, from men she didn't know, following rules she hadn't agreed to. It meant her life wasn't entirely her own anymore. So what do I do? Zarya asked when he finished. Just hide in this apartment forever? No. Kyle's voice was firm. You live your life, but carefully, and with protection nearby. I have businesses that need good people. The restaurants, the import company, the construction office. Legitimate businesses where you could work, where you'd be safe, where the people around you would know to watch for threats. So I'd be working for you. You'd be working for Huang Industries, which is a legitimate corporation that files taxes and follows labor laws. A hint of a smile. Mostly. Despite everything, Zarya laughed. This is insane, you know that, right? This whole situation is completely insane. Welcome to my world. Kale moved closer. Zarya, I know this isn't what you wanted. I know I've complicated your life in ways you didn't ask for. If you want to leave, if you want me to put you on a bus to anywhere in America with enough money to start over, I'll do it. No questions asked, no strings attached. Would I be safe? Zarya asked. If I left, or would the rumor follow me? His silence was answer enough. Then I guess I'm staying. She met his eyes. At least for now. At least for now, Kale echoed. Then, quieter. For what it's worth, I'm going to do everything I can to make this work, to keep you safe, to give you as much freedom as possible within the constraints. Why? The question escaped before Zarya could stop it. Why me? You said you watch out for people in your territory, but this is more than that. You set up an apartment for me. You stocked it with my favorite foods. You're turning your whole operation upside down to protect a waitress from a diner. So why? Kyle looked at her for a long moment. The morning sun caught the planes of his face, highlighted the sharp line of his jaw, made the dragon on his skin seem almost alive. Because 6 weeks ago, I watched you give your dinner to a kid who needed it more than you did, he said finally. And I realized I hadn't met anyone that genuinely kind in years, maybe ever. And I thought the world would be a darker place if someone like you got hurt, because someone like me didn't step in. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and touched one of the braids that had fallen across her shoulder. And because, when I look at you, I see someone worth protecting. Someone worth the complications. Zarya's breath caught. Kyle! His phone buzzed, harsh and insistent. He pulled back, checking the screen, and his expression shifted. I have to go, he said. Business. But I'll be back tonight. We can talk more then. Figure out the details. He was halfway to the door when Zarya called out, What if I don't want you to come back tonight? Kyle turned, and there was something vulnerable in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Then I won't, he said simply. The choice is always yours, Zarya, even when it doesn't feel like it. He left, and Zarya was alone in the beautiful apartment with her expensive coffee and her complicated new reality. She should be terrified. She should be planning her escape, figuring out which bus went farthest from Chicago, from Kale, from this whole mess. Instead, she found herself hoping he'd come back tonight, and that scared her more than anything else. 3 days passed in a strange new rhythm. Kyle came by every evening, never staying long, always maintaining careful distance. He brought dinner from the Korean restaurant his mother owned, japchae and bulgogi and kimchi, that made Zarya's taste buds sing. He brought news about Devon, gone to Milwaukee, struggling to find work, and updates about the rumor mill, confirmed everyone thought they were together. He never pushed, never asked for anything, just made sure she was safe, comfortable, adjusting. On the fourth day, Zarya got a job offer. Manager position at the flagship restaurant, Kyle said over dinner that night. They'd graduated to eating together now, sitting across from each other at the small kitchen table. The current manager is retiring. You'd be running the whole operation, hiring, scheduling, inventory, customer relations, everything. I've never managed a restaurant before, Zarya pointed out. You've worked at Nell's for 7 years, you know the business, and you're good with people, I've seen it. He paused. The pay is $70,000 a year plus benefits. Health insurance, dental, retirement plan, everything legitimate and above board. Zarya nearly choked on her water. 70,000? The job is worth 70,000. That's what I pay. Kyle's expression was neutral, but she caught the hint of amusement in his eyes. This isn't charity, Zarya. I need someone good, and you're good. I need to think about it. Take your time. But that night, alone in the apartment, Zarya found herself unable to sleep. She kept coming back to the same question. What was she doing? Accepting a job from a criminal, living in his apartment, eating his food, wearing the clothes he'd somehow acquired in her exact size, letting herself look forward to his evening visits, catching herself watching the dragon tattoo move when he laughed, letting herself fall for a man who lived in a world where violence was currency and kindness was calculated. Except Kyle's kindness didn't feel calculated. It felt real, genuine. As real as the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, as real as the careful distance he maintained, as real as his promise that she could leave whenever she wanted. She was still awake at 2 a.m. when her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. He can't protect you forever. Then a photo. Kyle leaving a building, unaware of the camera. A red X marked over his face. Zarya's hands shook as she called him. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? She told him about the text, the photo. His voice went cold, professional. Pack a bag, I'm sending someone to get you, 5 minutes. Kale, 5 minutes, Zarya. Do not open the door for anyone except my driver. His name is Hero. He drives a black Mercedes, and he'll knock 3 times. Understand? Yes. I'll meet you at a safe location. We'll figure this out. The call ended. Zarya threw clothes into a bag with shaking hands, her mind racing. Who sent the text? One of Devon's friends, a rival crew, someone else with a grudge against Kyle. The knock came exactly 5 minutes later. 3 sharp raps. Hero was the same driver who'd picked her up from the alley 4 days ago. He said nothing, just led her to the car and drove through empty streets to an address in a nicer part of South Side. The building was a warehouse converted into loft apartments. Hero led her to the top floor, knocked once and left her there. Kyle opened the door. He was different now. The white shirt was gone, replaced by a simple t-shirt. His hair was slightly messed, like he'd been running his hands through it. The careful control he always maintained had cracked, showing something raw underneath. Are you okay? His hands hovered near her shoulders, not quite touching. Did anyone follow you? Did anything else happen? I'm fine. Hero got me here safely. Zarya stepped inside. The loft was minimalist, masculine, clearly Kale's personal space. What's going on? Sit down. She sat on the leather couch. Kyle paced in front of her, and Zarya watched the dragon on his neck move with each agitated step. The text came from a disposable phone, he said. But I know who sent it. There's been someone pushing against my territory for months now, testing boundaries, probing for weaknesses. I thought I had it handled, but... He stopped pacing. But they know about you. They know that you matter to me. How would they know that? Because I haven't been careful enough. Kyle's voice was rough. Because I come to your apartment every night. Because I can't seem to stay away from you. Because everyone in Southside can see that you're not just another person I'm protecting, you're someone I... He cut himself off. Someone you what? Zarya stood up, crossed the space between them. Say it, Kyle. Because I need to know if I'm crazy. I need to know if I'm the only one who feels you're not crazy. His hands came up to frame her face, gentle despite the violence she knew they were capable of. You're not crazy, and you're not alone. From the moment I saw you give that kid your dinner, I couldn't stop thinking about you, couldn't stop watching you, couldn't stop wanting to know everything about you. Your favorite coffee, your favorite food, the way you tie your braids, the sound of your laugh. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. I told myself it was just about protection, just about doing the right thing. But then you moved into that apartment and you looked at me like I was more than just a criminal. Like maybe I could be someone worth knowing, and He stopped, swallowed hard. I fell for you, Zaria. Completely. Stupidly. Dangerously. Dangerously, Zaria repeated, because people can use me against you. Because I would burn this whole city down if someone hurt you. Cale's voice was fierce. Because you've become the thing I care about most, which makes you the thing that can destroy me. And that's not fair to you, it's not what you signed up for. Zaria reached up, touched the dragon on his neck, traced its scales with her finger. What if I want to sign up for it? Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it, she met his eyes. I mean it, Cale. This is insane and dangerous and probably stupid, but I mean it. These past 4 days, waiting for you to come over, talking with you, laughing with you, I haven't felt this safe, this seen, this cared for in years. Maybe ever. You don't know what you're getting into. Then teach me. Her hand slid from his neck to his jaw. Teach me how to survive in your world. Teach me the rules. Teach me who to trust. But don't push me away because you're scared. I'm not scared. Liar. She smiled. You're terrified. I can see it in your eyes. You're terrified that caring about me will get me killed, or will get you killed, or will destroy everything you've built. But Cale, living scared isn't living. And I'm tired of being scared. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he kissed her. It was gentle at first, questioning, giving her space to pull away. When she didn't, when she pressed closer instead, her hands sliding into his hair, the kiss deepened, became something desperate and real and absolutely terrifying. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kyle rested his forehead against hers. This changes everything, he said. I know. People will come for you, test you, use you to get to me. I know. You'll have to learn to be harder, colder, to see threats everywhere. I know. Zaria pulled back just enough to look him in the eyes. But I'll also have you, right? Always. The word was a promise and a prayer. For as long as you want me, you'll have me. Then teach me to survive your world, Zaria said, starting with whoever sent that text. Kyle's smile was sharp. I want to help me hunt them down. I want to make sure they know that I'm not a weakness they can exploit. Her voice was steady. I want them to know that I chose this. I chose you, and anyone who comes for me will regret it. You're not what I expected, Kyle said softly. Neither are you. Zaria smiled. You're supposed to be this terrifying mafia boss, but you stock my apartment with my favorite coffee and bring me Korean food, and kiss me like I'm something precious. You are precious. He pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her. You're the most precious thing I have. They stood there in the quiet loft, holding each other as the city breathed around them. Outside, Chicago continued its eternal rhythm, violent and beautiful and complicated. Inside, two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances decided to build something worth protecting. The restaurant was packed, dinner rush in full swing. Zaria moved through the crowd with practiced ease, checking on tables, greeting regulars, managing her staff with a combination of warmth and efficiency that made Cale's mother declare her the best thing that ever happened to this place. She'd learned the rules of Cale's world, learned to recognize threats, to carry herself with the kind of confidence that said she was protected, to navigate the complicated politics of South Side without flinching. But she'd also taught Cale something, that protection didn't have to mean isolation, that caring about someone didn't have to be a weakness, that love, real love, could exist even in the darkest corners of the world. She found him at his usual table in the back, doing paperwork that was almost certainly not entirely legal. He looked up when she approached.